The fact that the Conservatives are losing by elections is no longer news in Great Britain, even wasn't when I talked about this week. And exhausted and lacking ideas, the governing party under Rishi Sunak is lurching towards a terrible defeat in the new elections due this year. And this also has to do with the impression given by this highly successful group that was once focused on winning. Local party branches nominate unsuitable candidates and the headquarters does not feel able to intervene. The lower house faction is breaking up into new groups and failed ex-Prime Minister Liz Truss is seriously working on a comeback, and an influential lobby group wants Boris Johnson to return. The contrast to the Labour Party, which is the only alternative in the British majority voting system, could not be greater. The success-hungry team gathers around Chairman Keir Starmer in a quite disciplined manner. The ex-chief prosecutor is not charismatic, appears hesitant and acts more cautiously in the dispute over the correct Gaza policy than the base would like. But this criticism hardly reaches the outside world, and Labour is striving for power as a, at least to the outside, united front. But British Labour leader Keir Starmer has rejected criticism that he was too late to respond to anti-Israel comments from a parliamentary candidate. Labour's candidate for the Rochdale constituency by-election on February 29th, Azir Ali, has apologised fully after the comments that emerged over the weekend. That's what Starmer told reporters on Tuesday. However, further information then came to light that required a decisive response. The party, which had come under heavy pressure in the past because of anti-Semitic tendencies, withdrew its support from Ali on Monday evening and temporarily suspended his party membership. However, critics had already called for this step much, much earlier. A recording of a statement by Ali had already become public at that weekend, according to which he claimed that Israel knowingly allowed the terrorist attack on October 7th in order to have a free hand in its actions against the Gaza Strip. Nevertheless, the party initially stood behind Ali after he apologized. A reaction only followed after an anti-Semitic statement came to light on Monday evening, and accordingly, Ali blamed certain Jewish circles in the media for the suspension of former Labour MP Andy MacDonald. It would be a huge deal to withdraw support from a Labour candidate in the current election campaign, said Starmer. But when I say that the Labour Party has changed under my leadership, I mean it, he explained. His Social Democrats cannot now nominate a new representative for the by-election because the deadline for this has already passed. Because the ballot papers have already been printed and Ali will continue to be listed there as a Labour candidate. But the trouble for Starmer and the Labour Party didn't end there. On Tuesday evening, another party member was suspended, and that was ex-MP Graham Jones, who was due to retake his old Hyndburn constituency in the coming general election. He is said to have made anti-Israel comments at the same meeting as Ali. But we heard about the by-election. Judging by the comments and public attention given the election results in Wellingborough and Kingswood after the votes were counted, the third largest party did not gain much. The Labour Party, at least still there, celebrated its triumph in the two by-elections to the British House of Commons that took place last week, while the Conservatives suffered heavy defeat. But the third bar in the vote statistics, which usually shows the result of the Liberal Democrats in yellow, was coloured light blue this time. And it belongs to the Reform UK, the party that used to campaign against the EU in Great Britain under the name Brexit Party, and is now campaigning against the political establishment, against immigration, and against climate protection. In Kingswood, Reform UK received around 10% of the vote. In Wellingborough, it was at least 13%. And the party has invested a lot of energy there in particular and sent its deputy party leader into the race as a candidate. Ben Habib, a businessman from the real estate industry with Pakistani origins. For many years, he was a supporter, donor, and activist of the British Conservatives. Then he switched to the camp of radical EU exit supporters. Brexit Ben is the nickname he used to advertise himself on posters as a constituency candidate in Wellingborough. The governing Tories lost both constituencies in 2 by-elections, and this means that the Conservatives have lost more seats in by-elections in this legislative period than they have in decades. The pressure on Sunak is growing, and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party has suffered another defeat with those 2 parliamentary by-elections now. And the Tories lost the MP seats of Kingswood and Wellingborough to the opposition Labour Party. In the 2019 elections, the Conservatives won each seat with a large majority. And the bottom line is that the Conservatives have lost more seats in by-elections in this legislative period, as I said, than any time since the Second World War. And this pressure on Sunak from within his own ranks is now likely to increase. Great Britain will elect a new House of Commons this year, although we don't know the exact date, but Labour is clearly in the lead in all polls. And the 2 new Labour MPs will not represent their constituencies in the House of Commons for long. The seats will be merged with other constituencies at the next general election. But the by-election results showed people demanded change after 14 years of Tory government, at least according to Keir Starmer. And Tory Deputy General Secretary James Daly spoke of a warning shot. The bankruptcy in Wellingborough in particular is historic. The Conservatives lost 37.6 percentage points compared to the previous election. That's the second highest loss for a British party since 1945. And the by-elections were necessary because the lower house seats had become vacant. The Wellingborough MP Peter Bone was forced to resign following allegations of bullying and sexual misconduct, and his colleague Chris Skidmore gave up his parliamentary seat in protest against Sunak's environmental policy. The Conservatives are also concerned about the strong performance of the right-wing Reform UK party, the former Brexit party I mentioned earlier, because it is really something. So from the start to get a result of 13% in Wellingborough, and they most likely got the most of their votes from disappointed Tory voters. In Great Britain, the Tories are threatened with a serious election defeat, and the party seems nervous, and the Prime Minister seems to be unsteady, and some right-wing culture warriors in the party are increasingly determining the direction. Facing this election year and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservatives threatened with this major defeat, there is a lot of drama. And the worse the Tories' poll numbers are, the more their MPs get lost in a dispute over direction, and the party seems nervous and unsteady and on the verge of dismantling itself. And conspiracy theories are doing the rounds, including the idea of replacing Prime Minister Sunak before the election even. And these calls are likely to become even louder now that the economic data confirms that the UK is in recession in this week, and the Conservatives did lose 2 by-elections as well. And Sunak personally has extremely poor poll numbers as well, and his party is 20 percentage points behind Labour. And Isaac Levido, whom Sunak has brought into as head of his election campaign, has already warned that if they are a divided party, they will lose. But the rebels don't seem to care much about that. The party is now a confusing hodgepodge of different interest groups and sponsors who just want to impose their own will on the party. And the dispute over direction is also escalating because the Tories have lost focus on who they are actually making policy for. They were once the party of the middle class, of the farmers, of the pensioners, the entrepreneurs who valued the stability of their politics, but also their economic and fiscal reliability, their loyalty to the law, and the aversion to political extremes. And now this is all gone. The Conservatives are also concerned about the strong performance of the Reform UK, but it's all the same. But that will be another reason why they are about to face a really big election drama, because those votes will come from the Tories in most cases. And this puts pressure on Sunak to change course. And for some time now, there have been calls among the Tories to move the party even more towards the right-wing camp. Sunak is also struggling with a weakening economy. And as I said, according to data, the economy slipped into recession in the second half of 2023. And the former investment banker has made stimulating the economy the focus of his government work, and it obviously didn't work. And many voters are also angry about the rising cost of living, a poorly functioning public health system, and the strike in the public services. So there is nothing good to show for Sunak at the moment. And the only thing he still has to offer is what the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, brings up again and again, tax cuts for some. But we will see if that can help at all. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here on the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.